than just watch some football. All my sports teams off season go through withdrawals, 30 minutes to tip off. Like Rakim was saying, weak ideas give me ear problems. Sound like thunder and rain. I'm excited that you came on this journey with 3 of my friends. Defy life till we die and grow wings. Just a different perspective. Haters in every direction. Refuse to live my life based off your projections. Their expectations are lazy. My expectations are crazy. My lady defies me. Kuzma, Brown, Brady, Jordan, LeBron, Aaron, Bonds, Mayweather, Ali Foreman. You get the picture, greatest ever born. I attack without warning. This is not around the horn. Them other shows whack, a lot of yawning. You really want to be the best, got to pay the price. We make winning look easy. Welcome to Defy Life. Defy Life.
Welcome to the Defy Life Podcast. I am your host, J.R. Glimpf, joined by my co-hosts, Keyonne Small, Thomas Stevens, Alvin Glimpf. How's it going today, Keyonne?
It's great, man, as always, bro.
Cool. And I don't think I've ever acknowledged, at least on the show, and for our listeners, this is actually our very own Keyonne Small on the intro, ladies and gentlemen. So, shout out to you, Keyonne, for the dope-ass intro for the Defy Life Podcast. Brought to you by GoDefyLife.com. I don't think I've ever acknowledged that on the actual show, so salute to you, sir.
Thank you. Tell that to Hip Hop DX. I got a story for y'all later. The niggas killed me this week.
Oh, okay. All right. Thomas, how's it going today, sir?
It's going very well. Very hot and humid at this point.
I'm sure you are. For those of you that don't know, Thomas is live from Carolina Panthers training camp in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So we will get an update from him as we go through some training camp talk, and he's been out there all weekend, so we'll check in with you, Thomas. Alvin, how's it going today, OG?
Good, man, as I sit in the second hottest state in the South. But nah, man, all is good. Had a good weekend, and doing good, doing well. Good stuff.
All right, well, as we mentioned, Thomas is at Carolina Panthers training camp this weekend. So we will immediately start off with some training camp talk. So, Thomas, first for you. You were at practice yesterday. You're back out there today. So I want to get a little bit of what you saw at Panthers camp yesterday, and then get your thoughts on your very own Chicago Bears as they open up training camp as well. So what's it been like at Panthers camp, man?
It's been very, very hot. Start off, it's been very, very hot. But I noticed a lot of different things that they're doing with their defense schematically. I see they're trying out a few guys out of different places, and the second-year player out of Duke, Cash, they have him playing it seems like a different role. He's been taking reps with the starters, along with the starters. So while they're running different plays, he's in as a fourth linebacker. So I think that's kind of intriguing for what I see at this point.
Cool. Yeah, Jeremy Cash, he kind of fits the mold of like the Deion Buchanans, the more hybrid, if you want to call it that, safety linebacker type. So makes sense. We say it all the time that the NFL is more about roles now than it is positions. So now guys like that who are really like tweeners who never really had positions in the NFL in the past, so they're finding positions for those guys to and finding roles, which is creating a position for them. So guys like that, Deion Buchanan, the Jeremy Cashes, the Damian Staffords, those kind of guys who in the past would have been considered tweeners and probably pushed out of the league or had a smaller role, or just special teams guys are now kind of finding specialized roles. So good for Jeremy Cash. I always liked him coming out of Duke. Alvin, your Cowboys are opening up camp, so you know what that means. There's football, there's beating up people, there's getting speeding tickets, stealing folks, losing, all kind of stuff, man, when the Cowboys open up camp. What are your thoughts as the Cowboys open up camp, and some of your more intriguing storylines there?
With the Cowboys, it's always sex, drugs, and football.
In that order. I'm clapping.
Yeah, right. We take it back, and that goes back to the 70s. It ain't nothing new. But real talk, I think, while, it's easy to focus off the field when it comes to the Cowboys. You got the recent suspension of a defensive lineman, Moore. But at least that goes back to behavior last year before he was a Cowboy. You got the pending suspension of Ezekiel Elliott. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with him. But to me, the biggest storyline, what we need to focus on going into the offseason, going into training camp, is our defense. Are we going to replace the 4 secondary dudes that we lost? Looking good so far with our rookies coming in, so I like what I see there. But the biggest story is going to be Jaden Smith. And all the reports so far is he's just looking better and better and better every day. So if this dude turns out to be who we thought he was going to be when we drafted him last year, I think our defense is going to be much, much better because we're going to have another true playmaker in the linebacking core. So really excited about football starting with Dallas and looking forward to seeing them in the Hall of Fame game.
Absolutely. There's something I wanted to ask you because there's a guy on the Cowboys roster on the defensive line that I've always been intrigued by, and I think he's has the talent to be dominant. But he's got a suspension this year. David Irving, defensive end / D tackle,
yes.
Guy who in limited snaps has kind of had huge impacts on games. But I think he's suspended the first 4 games this year.
First 4, yeah.
First 4. What are your thoughts on Irving? Because I'm watching him on a limited basis. What are your thoughts on David Irving?
I'm really high on Irving. Reminds me of, and taking it back to the OGs listening, reminds us of Leon Lett.
Yeah. And
his size and disruptability and his path into the league. So, he didn't come in as a first round, second round, third round rookie or nothing like that. So I'm happy to see somebody just fight his way on the team. But when he has played, he's made plays in the regular season. He also was pretty dominant in that playoff game as well. So he was a big part of what we were hoping to see in the turnaround in our defensive line this year. So I'm hoping after these 4 games, he gets in and gets acclimated. And by the time we're making the playoff push, he can be a major disruptor in the line. But you look at him, you look at Taco, you look at Lawrence, Malik Collins out of Nebraska. We definitely are building our talent base. So I'm looking to see more pressure from the defensive line. But David Irving is a big piece of that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a good comp, Leon Lett. All right. Your very own Atlanta Falcons.
Jay.
Yes, sir.
I just want to go ahead and chime in for a moment. I see Christian McCaffrey just took a snap or two, and he looked very shifty and elusive. He looks very good out there. He just ran with he's in there running with the first team now, so he looks very, very good. The backs are alternating.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
I think he's going to fit in well down there. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think that was a good pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see how let us know as they continue to rotate if he's moving around to different positions. If they have him on the field as Stewart at the same time. It's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Okay, and I do want to also comment on. I see they're putting more emphasis on their special teams. And ran a punt back yesterday. I didn't get to see who it was, but I know that the crowd just erupted. And they were getting some very good action on special teams yesterday.
Okay. Are they in full pass today? Okay. Cool. All right. Good work, Thomas Stevens, reporting in live from Carolina Panthers camp.
Dope.
All right. Keyonne Small, your very own defending NFC champion Atlanta Falcons. What are your most intriguing storylines? What are you looking for out of training camp? It's pretty much the Falcons are one of those teams, especially coming off a Super Bowl, where most of the 53 is already determined. So it's hard to find storylines and on a team that's got a full roster like that. But what are you looking forward to most in training camp?
I got a whole different perspective. It's like training camp to me is like whatever. I don't care. Just let game gets started, and because I'm not the expert to see and watch like who's gonna make the team, who's not. I don't want anybody to get hurt. And kind of it just piggyback on what you're saying about the roster set, at least with the Falcons. It's not like we rebuilding or nothing. So don't want nobody to get hurt. The players that were hurt last year, I want them to be looking like they can play this year. Desmond Trufant, I guess Tack McKinley got to get on the field, but just no injuries and let's play. If the guys ain't good enough, cut them. Let's move on. I see you in. I start watching preseason, but anyway, go ahead. Preseason. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying. You mentioned Desmond Trufant. I know last week your choice of a Falcon to bring back was Deion Sanders. So here's a name I want you to look out for through camp and preseason. Is Damontae Kazee, a rookie cornerback out of San Diego State. A little bit undersized. He's one of those guys. If he was 2 inches taller, he would have been a top 15 pick. He's that good. So look out for him. I heard he's been putting on a show in all-season practices, one-handed interceptions, all kind of stuff. So just a name for you to keep an eye on as your already established roster takes shape. Keep an eye on Damontae Kazee.
That makes me happy because one thing that scares me is the offensive line. Like when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, I was like, they're high bad the next year. And he was like, everyone has a career year and no injuries. So that's my fear going into next year. As the corner, it seems like we deep at secondary. So Kazee, I'm looking at him now, great, but it's like we deep at cornerback. We lost last year and it didn't matter. You know what I mean? But the offensive line, is a scary thing to me because if one of those guys go down, I don't know what that would be like if we would be able to be as dominant. But anyway, that's my biggest thing. No injuries. Injury would break my heart right now. It would be scary.
Key.
Yeah.
When you look at you talk about scare, so I got a fear question. You're looking at your division. You're looking at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Winston getting better. They gave him a couple of more weapons. Sean Jackson.
Yes.
You're looking at New Orleans, which, always has their defense issues, but picked up Peterson, and you're always going to have Drew Brees.
Yeah.
You got Pooh up in Carolina.
Yeah.
You figure Newton got to have a better year. He got to have a bounce back year because he's just that good of a player. They added McCaffrey. The wide receiver should be better. The tall dude who's back from injury, I can't think of his name right now. Benjamin. Yes. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Hopefully their defense will be better. So my question is,
yes, sir.
Out of those three teams, who scares you the most going into the season?
That's a tough question because the Saints somehow always no, stop it. I won't say them. I won't say the Saints. They play the Falcons tough, but as far as winning the division, it would probably be Tampa Bay. Because I've always been high on Winston, so I'm looking for him to make that leap that I haven't seen him make yet. I seen him lose a bunch of weight from 2 years ago to last year. Like he looked good last year. His feet was looking great, but they scare me probably the most.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what I would think too.
But at the end of the day, it just comes down to like everybody staying healthy. Because like Falcons were 11-5, man. It's like, and we could have been 9-7. Just easily. So it's like, or that could be the case this year. So it wasn't like we dominated everything.
Yeah.
And now everybody's watching the Falcons now. They weren't. I think it's not because kind of like second half of the year they snuck up on everybody.
Yeah, you're almost gonna be everybody's Super Bowl this year.
So, oh yeah. And that offense won't surprise. No, I think everybody is aware of the power offense now, and they've had an off season to prepare. But so too with the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons have had an off season to get better at it. But that offense is scary.
Yeah,
it was like. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I think one thing to watch there is now that Kyle Shanahan's gone is how Steve Sarkisian handles running that offense.
Yeah.
Great point.
What was killing everybody last year was like the third option, like the fourth, like Matt Ryan could check down.
Yeah.